Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Air Canada, connecting the world with more than 1,000 daily flights to 180 destinations and 6 continents.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, September 16th. Coming to you today from New York City for our global travel update. So much to talk about and a couple of nostalgic walks through the past I'm going to share with you. As the story continues to evolve in Utah about the killer of Charlie Kirk, I'm reminded of almost a full year that I spent in Utah when I was the correspondent for Newsweek magazine covering another celebrated murder situation, that of Gary Gilmore. How many of you remember Gary Gilmore? Norman Mailer ended up doing a book about it called The Executioner's Song, which later turned into a movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Rosanna Arquette. Brilliant movie, by the way, and a brilliant book. But Utah brings back so many memories for me because I spent time there, a lot of time there at the Utah State Prison in Draper, Utah, with Gilmore behind bars, who made the unusual defense in his case. He went before the jury and the judge and said, "You're the ones who let me out of prison. You're the ones who then made it possible for me to kill 2 people. So you're going to have to kill me." Now, he made that plea at a time, obviously it was a calculated risk by him, because he made it at a time when the Supreme Court had stayed all death sentences throughout the United States for many, many years. But he picked the one state in the union that said, okay. And of course, this became a celebrated legal case. It went all the way up to the Court of Appeals and then the Ninth Circuit. And finally, in January of 1977, Gary Gilmore was executed in the most unusual way. Let's hear it for Utah. He was shot by firing squad, and I was there. There's a picture that I'll rustle up, showing me next to the chair that he was sitting in with the stuffing blown out by all the bullets that entered him. In any case, we're all back to Utah now on another murder case. If convicted, he'll probably get the death penalty. Let's see if he has to be shot by firing squad. Crazy, right? The other nostalgic day for me today is the passing of Robert Redford. I had a chance to know him and work with him and interview him on a number of occasions. He was also my neighbor here in New York. He lived 2.5 blocks away. And so did another person I spent a lot of time with, his neighbor, Paul Newman. And between Redford and Newman, they were both unbelievable practical jokers. And they were all each trying to one up the other. And the story that Redford told me, and then Newman later confirmed, is that they were one up each other with practical jokes and, huge stunts, right? And finally, Redford waited until Paul Newman was out of town doing a movie. So he wasn't going to be back here for at least a week to 2 weeks. And he got the police to close off the block between Madison and 5th, where Newman lived. He then hired a huge building crane to come down the block and raise up workers to take off the huge second floor living room window, massive window from Newman's apartment, and then had gone to a yard and gotten a Porsche 911 and crushed it, James Bond style, Goldfinger style, and brought this crushed Porsche up the street, lifted it in the crane, lifted it in the living room of this building, replaced the window, and left. Boy, those guys had fun. And no expense was spared. Redford, of course, remembered for so many great movies that he either acted in and or directed. He won the Academy Award, of course, for Ordinary People. By the way, that was 1980, 45 years ago. But a wonderful movie. I remember him, of course, for all of his environmental work. That's how we met in New York and then later in Utah. I visited him in Sundance, where he had been doing a number of documentaries or basically supporting a number of documentaries on the fragile state of our national parks. And he will be remembered and he will be certainly missed for that work as well. But if you get a chance, Now's the time to go back and watch Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Now it's time to go back and watch The Sting. How beautiful was that movie? How perfect was that movie? And of course, for those people who are too young to remember Watergate, go back and watch All the President's Men with Redford there and Dustin Hoffman. Anyway, remembering both the crazy story of Gary Gilmore 50 years ago, and of course, Robert Redford, who leaves such a great legacy. Now let us move on. One more thing I wanted to mention. You may have seen the news recently. I'm so upset because I guess I'm never going to get $100,000 a year for life. That's right. The Publishers Clearinghouse is bankrupt. And all those winners who did win, actually, who were promised that kind of money for life, are now not getting anything. Here's the problem with any time you get an award or you win something, you better make sure that if it's paid over a period of time, that money is put in escrow. And the reason why I bring that up is because the same thing applies to making an airline reservation or a very expensive cruise or tour reservation with a company. You want to make sure that they guarantee you that the money you put up for that cruise or that safari or that excursion goes into escrow so that they're not using that money to pay off earlier debts. So by the time your cruise comes up, they may not be operating. It just brings up an old and important theory. Now let's move on to the news. Lots of things to talk about. The wagons are circling when it comes to Spirit. I'm going to be speaking in New York this week, in fact, tomorrow, with the chairman of Frontier Airlines, Barry Biffle, about this. But Spirit, having filed Chapter 22, that's, of course, Chapter 11 twice in less than a year. They're still operating, by the way. They're still flying. But they're smelling blood in the water. And so what's happening? Frontier has announced something like 22 new routes. United has announced 15 new routes. JetBlue has pulled out of Miami and very soon will start operating a lot of dozens and dozens of new routes out of where? Fort Lauderdale. That's Spirit country. They're all basically trying to go where Spirit is now currently operating and get ready for a fare war, because in this environment, the definition of a successful airline is which can lose money longer. I mean, otherwise known as predatory pricing. So get ready for fares that go dropping way low, right? By the way, Spirit blames Southwest for undercutting their fares, which forced Spirit to go into the most recent bankruptcy. So this is behavior about to repeat itself. So in the short run, you're going to see great fare wars in the Southeast, especially in those areas that Spirit is strong. In the long run, not holding out much hope unless Spirit gets some amazing independent financing for the airline to continue operating past the end of this year. So obviously we'll be watching this, but take a look at the fares that are going to start happening now as Frontier, United, and JetBlue move into Spirit territory. All right, moving on from that. I get this question all the time. You know, nobody likes the dreaded middle seat, right? And if you do, I have to have a separate conversation with you. So is it possible on flights that are not full for you to get that middle seat bumped? Ever remember, go back to the days of COVID when part of Delta's marketing strategy was they were blocking all middle seats? Well, of course they could. There was nobody on the plane. It was a nice stunt. Well, nobody's blocking middle seats now. But wait a minute. Maybe. Frontier sells a fare package where you're guaranteed the seat next to you will be empty. Check that out. And if you're flying on a long-haul flight, particularly on Air New Zealand, one of their flight attendants a couple of years ago invented, not coach class, not business class, they lovingly call it cuddle class, 3 coach seats that somehow transform into a sleeping couch for couples traveling together who will pay a little bit more of a premium, but will get all 3 seats. So there is some hope there. But other than that, can't block that middle seat. Wish you could. All right. Then, of course, there's the story that happened last week. Imagine this scene. Passengers on board a Royal Caribbean ship, one of the big ships, and he's in the casino, and he's gambling, and he's losing. He's losing a lot. He incurs about $18,000 in casino gambling debt. Some say $16,000, but bear with me on this. And he doesn't have a plan B. So he waits till the ship gets near the shore. He jumps off the ship. And a boat picks him up. They bring him to shore and he runs away. Authorities finally caught up with him. And when they did, what did they find on him? $14,000 in cash, 2 phones, and 5 separate IDs. Whoops. So he's got some splaining to do. And there'll be more damages than that based on his decision to skip town or skip ship. Okay, so there's that one. I had to talk about that. And then this one is interesting. We all have heard about getting bumped on a plane, right? What does bumping mean? Well, there's bumping when they overbook the flight. And you've seen it happen. Maybe it's happened to you where they're asking for volunteers to give up their seat for 2 tickets or a ticket or a voucher for a later flight, assuming there's one available. But what happens if they're so overbooked and nobody volunteers? Well, then that's called involuntary denied boarding compensation, in which if they make you get off the plane, they have to pay you some serious money. Now, at one point, they do it as an auction, right? If you give up your seat now, take a later flight, we'll give you a voucher for $400 or $600 and a seat on the next flight. When they offer that, the smart travelers already know, don't get up. Because if nobody takes the opening bid, it goes up. It goes up to $800, then $1,000, then $1,500. I was on a flight and I had to get somewhere. But of course, everybody has their price. And I was on a flight where the bidding got up to about $4,400. And I finally said, you know what? I can be late. I went to stand up and I was trampled by all the other passengers getting the deal before I could even try. You should also know, airlines won't admit this, but it's a fact. They've authorized their gate agents in the wake of the terrible story of Dr. David Dow on United. Remember him? The dentist who was dragged off the plane and beaten up by police because he wouldn't give up a seat for which he had a bona fide ticket, boarding pass, and was already sitting in the seat. But as a result of that, which by the way resulted in a 7-figure suit settlement by United, a lot of airlines now, of course, the major carriers, have authorized their gate agents in unusual situations to go up to $10,000 to get you to give up your seat. Now, it doesn't happen a lot, but now at least you know what the cap is. Now, having said that, which airline did the most bumping of passengers in the last 6 months? The US DOT is out with those figures, and it might surprise you. Yes, Frontier did some. Southwest bumped about 100 people, for which they paid compensation. But who was the worst offender of involuntary denied boarding? American Airlines. They bumped 7,100 plus passengers in the first 6 months of 2025. Ouch. That's an inefficient airline, folks. That's overbooking beyond common sense. Now, on the flip side, Delta, involuntary denied boarding, nobody in the first 6 months. Now, how could that be? I'll tell you how it could be. Yeah, they asked people to give up their seats, but they offered them a whole lot of money. So nobody was involuntarily bumped. They voluntarily said, hey, show me the money. Now, the other DOT figures to talk about, which airline in the first 6 months of 2025 was the most on time? The answer is going to surprise you. Are you ready? It was Spirit. I told you they're still operating. And who came in almost dead last? Here we go again. American. American's got some cleaning up to do. They have a long way to go to fix that. But in terms of operational reliability, Delta's doing pretty well. United's doing somewhat well. Hawaiian, doing great. Now, of course, Alaskan. But you should know who did well, and who did not so well. And that's who did that. Lithium-ion batteries. Let's talk about that for a second. The airlines are getting more strict about it, and for good reason. We've seen numerous instances where these lithium-ion batteries spontaneously catch fire or explode in aircraft cabins or worse, cargo cabins, which is why whenever you check a bag, they're asking if you're carrying any lithium-ion batteries on board. You cannot check them. But now the airlines are going one step further. Southwest Airlines is saying, if you want to bring a battery charger on board your flight or a battery pack, You can't put it in the overhead compartment. You can't put it in the seat under the seat in front of you. You have to keep it on your person and visible at all times, because if it decides to spontaneously explode, they want to catch it right away. Luckily, even though there have been some of these cases, the planes have been able to safely divert without any loss of life. But I can tell you this, an uncontained lithium-ion battery fire is not easy to extinguish. Do you remember when the 787s caught fire because they carried their own lithium-ion batteries? Remember the famous Japan Airlines flight in Boston? It happened on the ground, thankfully. Now, the lithium-ion battery in that plane, that the plane carried as part of its equipment, was about the size of a little bit bigger than a laptop. It was located near the rear right cargo door. And after the passengers deplaned, it spontaneously exploded and caught fire. The fire alarm was called in. The Boston Fire Department, which of course is located at the airport, responded within 2.5 minutes. They opened the cargo door. Obviously, they saw the fire. They identified where it was, and they started to put it out. How long did it take them to extinguish that blaze? Anyone want to guess? 45 minutes. If that had happened at altitude, there's not a plane flying today that has a smoke detection or fire suppression system that could have made a difference. Those people would have been toast. And so here comes the FAA finally having to ground the 787s until Boeing could do a fix. Now, are you ready to laugh? Do you know what Boeing's idea was for a fix, which the FAA approved? They made a little hat for the battery, as if that's going to make a difference. Ugh. But the bottom line is, that situation notwithstanding, you do have control over the batteries you bring on board. You can't check them. And now Southwest Airlines has gone one step beyond that, saying if you have a mobility device, a wheelchair or a scooter, you're going to have to take the battery out of that too before it's checked on the plane, for the exact same reason. So this is not an airline doing something to disadvantage people with mobility issues. It's all about the battery. So that explains that. Okay. Now, moving along. Okay. Junk fees at hotels. You know, the Federal Trade Commission has ruled a long time ago that that hotels can't do that. They have to disclose all the fees. Well, they're not always doing that. They're giving them different names, like a hospitality fee. There's nothing hospitable about it. A number of hotels are also now charging for parking, even if you don't have a car. So it's up to you to negotiate upfront, to come up with a mutually agreeable definition of terms when you make that reservation, which means if you're going online, you may not be getting all the information. Call the hotel directly. Big opportunity here to have what? A conversation and find out what you're up against. Everything is negotiable. I don't care what they say. But remember, watch out for those insidious other junk fees that they're giving different titles to. All right. Now, I knew I was going to tell you something. But first, before I do that, let's say hello to a couple of people. Linda's saying hi from Naples. Happy to see the Travel and Adventure Show is coming to South Florida. Finally, will I be speaking there? Yes, I will. That'll be next year. And I'll be speaking both days of that show in Fort Lauderdale. Jim and Harriet always coming in first, except they came in second today. Saying hi from Yorkshire in the UK. All right, congratulations. Priya saying hi from Chicago. Jean saying hi from Tulsa. Sue saying hi from the beach. Oh, make me jealous in the Turks and Caicos. Okay. Evelyn saying hi from Denver. Randy saying from Ann Arbor, go blue. Look, please. I love Michigan. I cannot support the Wolverines. I'm a Badger. And by the way, how'd you like our game against Alabama last week, huh? Boy, we sure showed them not. But we're playing Maryland this weekend. There may be hope. There may be hope. We're playing them back in Madison. Although I will tell you, Ann Arbor's got the most intimidating football stadium I've ever been in. I think you can hold about 110,000 people now. It is the big house. Jeff saying, I'm heading to Sedona in October. Do you have a favorite hike? The Subway Cave is next on my list. I don't have a favorite hike, Jeff, but, you know, in Sedona, they're known for the Jeep tours, and I love getting out in the Jeeps, especially on the self-drive ones, where you're not part of a tour, right? Now, I'm not into courts and, you know, none of that stuff, but the Sedona Jeep tours, when you do them yourself, pretty cool. early in the morning or magic hour at about 5 in the afternoon. All right. Mr. Cooney saying hi from Los Angeles. Juan is saying hi from Raleigh. Michelle saying, do I think Buttigieg dropped the ball in hiring air traffic controllers? What does that mean? How can you drop the ball in hiring air traffic controllers? Tell me more. I'm a little confused about that. Charlie's saying hi from Baton Rouge. All right. By the way, Hidden Louisiana still airing on PBS, Amazon, Apple TV, and YouTube. Okay, moving along. Lorena's saying hi from Lansing. Again, I'm a Badger. Can't support the Spartans, but we're all Big Ten at the end of the day. Willie's saying hello from Denver. Hello right back to you, Willie. And Michael's saying hello from Lima, Ohio. I stand corrected, Michael, every week. In addition to Iceland, we're also headed to Tromsø. Any must-see suggestions? But when are you going? Weather is key. Priya is saying, have you heard of Dubai Connect program offered by Emirates? Yeah, they offer that. And they also offer it in Doha with Qatar. And they also offer it with in Abu Dhabi with, the airline, Etihad. Yes, it's not too good to be true. It works. Jay is saying, greetings from, my old haunting ground, Sherman Oaks. Okay. You want some more information, Priya? Okay. What the Emirates connecting is this. By the way, Turkish Airlines offers it as well in Istanbul. If you're flying in a regular coach seat, not a basic economy, or you're flying in business, they will give you a hotel and anywhere from 1 to 3 days free tours in that location when you're connecting to onward flights. Pretty cool. Okay. Have I ever done any, Willie wants to know, have I ever done any reporting on overbooking at the car rental companies? As a manager at Avis in Denver, we continually relied on the no-show being 9%. If it was only 5%, we were in trouble. You're absolutely right. The overbooking situation, you have to assume it's happening. Really, nobody wants to see unsold seats leave because it's revenue they'll never recoup. The overbooking, though, doesn't necessarily benefit consumers. So what you do is this. I never book a rental car without assuming they're going to overbook. And so once I book the rental car, I then get the phone number of the franchise location where I'm picking the car up from, and I call the manager and I have a nice conversation. And I let them know what time I'm arriving. I get their first and last name and their email address, and I confirm it with an email. And I thank them. You want that extra protection. Jonathan saying he's off to Rome in 3 weeks. I'll be in Rome in about 3 weeks, so we'll have to talk. Juan says I'm taking a Christmas market cruise this December. I love Christmas market cruises. The Austrians and the Germans, they know how to do their Christmas markets. And yes, there's a limit on how much beer I can drink, not a limit on how many pretzels I can consume. And it's really worth it. I love it. Okay. Hello from Tucson, from the Scrow's Nest. Michelle said, did they not hire enough air traffic controllers? Every Secretary of Transportation has missed the ball and dropped the ball on that. The FAA has been behind this game for 40 years, ever since Ronald Reagan fired all the air traffic controllers back in 1981. They've never caught up. It's stupid. Congress needs to allocate money that can actually spend for the hiring and training of air traffic controllers. And speaking of overbooking, you better overbook them because the washout rate during training is relatively high. We need to catch up, and we need to catch up now. All right, Michael says going in mid-October. Yeah, well, the problem there is going to be weather and daylight. Email me, peter@petergreenberg.com, and I'll give you some suggestions, okay? Fran saying hi from West Virginia, and Terry saying hi from Route 66. We're about to start production on one of our new hidden series called Hidden Route 66. You'll see it on PBS, Amazon, and Apple TV. It'll be out next year to coincide with what? The 100th birthday of the Mother Road. We'll be going from Illinois all the way out to California. So stay tuned on that. But thanks for saying hi. And, now, normally we'd have the photo of the week, but we're having technical difficulties today. We do have, wait a minute, we have something. This is my favorite sign at the airport, but we'll go to the photo of the week because there it is. I'll go back to the sign of the airport in a second. 3 cheers to David Alpern. Where was this taken? How appropriate. In Haifa in Israel, right on the water. Nice shot there. And I love going into Haifa because you can sail right in. It's Israel's coastal port along with Eilat, but it's really Haifa. And nicely done, David. And if you guys think you have a photo that qualifies as the photo of the week, you know what to do. Just email us, photocontest@petergreenberg.com. And if we like it, it goes right up there next to David. David, thank you again. Now let's go back to the other photo I wanted to show you. My favorite airport sign. You've seen them at many airports. Kiss and fly, right? It's where you can, basically pull over, park, kiss, and get out of the car. Notice the disclaimer and the warning at the bottom of the sign. Yeah, good luck with that one. Anyway, I'll give an award to anybody who tells me which airport this was taken at. All right, take a look and let us know later. Do we have my other video ready? Don't do it yet. But if we have the other video ready, I want to tell you a little history here. Beware the law of unintended consequences. This is a press conference held by an airline talking about how they basically improved their on-time performance, how their operational reliability was coming back together, and how everything was going to be coming back and doing well. So let me see. I've just got an email here to see if we have it. Yes, we do have it. You got to watch this video. When we run it, though, take a look at where the cameraman goes in the middle of the announcement. All right, roll the video.
And just a final question here. Is there any sort of work being done with the airlines in order to get flights actually on time or not delayed as much? Just curious if there's any work happening there.
Yes. So we've seen almost a doubling in terms of improvement on-time performance since last year. That is a reflection of all the work that we've done across the ecosystem together with our partner airlines, with agencies, reducing processing time, reducing wait times, and fine-tuning operations with our air carrier partners. And we see the great results that have come from that.
Can't make it up. Can't make it up. Somebody needs a little PR 101 help there. You don't hold a press conference under a departure board that shows almost every one of your flights delayed or canceled and then talk about improvement. Whoops. All right. Couple of housekeeping notes. Hidden Alabama is coming up. Check your local listings. And that'll be followed by a number of other shows that we just finished shooting. Hidden Egypt, Hidden Hong Kong, and right after Hidden Alabama, you'll be able to premiere Hidden Malta, one of our favorite destinations for so many reasons. So there you go on that. Now, let me scroll down a few more questions that people have asked during the week. Let me see if I can find them. Yes, here's one. From Patty, I'm scheduled to fly out of Charles de Gaulle on October 7th. That day now is scheduled to be the start of a 3-day strike of air traffic controllers, October 7th, 8th, and 9th. Let me tell you something about air traffic control strikes and strikes in general in Europe. There's supposed to be an air traffic control strike the day after tomorrow. And guess what? Not happening. They called it off. So these things come and go very quickly. I have not yet seen, at least in Europe, an extended strike by either trains or air traffic controllers or luggage handlers. They're usually 24-hour work actions and are quite entertaining to watch. So if I were you, I would continue to hold my reservations and remember something else. If you're going to do a strike with air traffic controllers or baggage handlers or train folks, when would you rather do it? In the height of summer at peak season, where you have the most leverage against your employers, or in the shoulder season in October? Think about that and then roll the dice. Just saying. Okay? In the meantime, we are traveling again. We'll be coming. Our radio show this weekend is actually coming from Costa Rica. Check it out. An amazing location. It's called the Ritz-Carlton Reserve, Necawi. It's in the Papagayo Peninsula in Costa Rica, an amazing location. So check out your local listings for that. We always stream that online starting at 10 a.m. Eastern time every Saturday. And of course, next week, the global travel update coming from one of my favorite domestic destinations. And I try to do it at this time every year for reasons that'll become immediately apparent next week. That'll be on Monday, a week from yesterday, the 22nd of September. So Check it out, noon Eastern time from a really cool location. I'll give you one hint. It's in the Northeast. And I'll give you another hint. No, I can't give you the other hint. But can't do it. I almost caught myself. I did catch myself. I'm not doing it. But we'll see you next week for that. In the meantime, we thank Anthony for handling all the boards, still from Tahiti, but getting on a plane as we speak. Amanda for helping out as well. We will see you on the radio, and we'll see you back on TV very soon. And, of course, I'll see you next Monday for Global Travel Update. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you soon.
Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Air Canada, connecting the world with more than 1,000 daily flights to 180 destinations and 6 continents.
Coming soon on PBS, Hidden Alabama, and a trail that shaped the conscience of a nation. Spanning 40 locations, this trail guides you to the most influential places and stories of the civil rights movement in Alabama.
It is often said that a people that do not remember their history are doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. So regardless of how painful and tragic it was, it's important for people to understand and know and appreciate this history.
This is Martin Luther King III. He was just 10 years old when he buried his father, who was honored here with a statue in Kelly Ingram Park.
He was not necessarily about monuments and awards. He really was about working to change our communities, to create a better nation for those yet unborn.
Just part of what you'll see on Hidden Alabama. Coming soon on PBS.